I just want to talk just briefly about the second reading from St. Paul's letter to Timothy. This letter was written when Paul was under house arrest in Rome. Paul had taken the collection from the people of Greece and had brought it to the people in the Holy Land. He was recognized and almost started a riot. So the governor said, well, how about standing trial here in Jerusalem? He said he wanted to stand trial in Rome. So he's now under house arrest in Rome, and he's writing to Timothy, who is the bishop of Ephesus. And he's saying that there is, for there is one God, and there's also one mediator between God and man, the man Jesus Christ, who gave himself as a ransom for all. So one of the things we think about is the fact that there is that one mediator, because really it's not anybody else. It's not a good person. It's not a holy saint of old that's going to bring us salvation. It's really only Jesus Christ, and Jesus taking upon the cross our past, our present, and our future sins upon the cross, bringing us to reconciliation with God. So, but what it doesn't mean is that there's only one person who can intercede for us. Because certainly when we think about the Acts of the Apostles, we think about the church interceding for St. Paul. We think about the church interceding for St. Peter. And so to ask a friend of ours who's maybe a very holy person to intercede, to pray for us, or the saints of the church to pray for us, again, it is that idea that we're asking them for that to intercede on our behalf. And we certainly think about that in the Acts of the Apostles, where the church really is that body to gather together in worship and praise. In the gospel, what you have is that Jesus using a negative example to bring about a positive example. We see that also in the story of the unjust judge. The widow goes to the unjust judge. She wants going day and night, render me the decision that's mine. He doesn't want to do it, but he said that she's just driving me nuts. I got to do it. So he goes ahead and provides that decision for the widow. In the gospel today, what we have is the manager who is found out that he's not doing things right. So he thinks about it. And one thing that's interesting is he thinks about it. He says, well, what am I going to do? I can't beg. That's not going to work because I don't want to do that. I definitely don't want to dig because I'm not strong enough to do that. So he really thinks about his predicament and then comes up and formulates a plan based on his predicament. So he says, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the people to give me what I want, I'm going to ingratiate myself to the debtors of the owner of the property so that so when I'm fired, they can look kindly upon me. So he says, how much you owe? 100, make it 50, to another 100, make it 80. So it's an arbitrariness, but it's something that they're willing to pay, so they're willing to do it. And then the interesting thing is that the person who is the owner of the property says that he commends the person, and then so it's like, well, okay, well, how does he, commend the person? And I take a kind of a different opinion on this. I think that birds of a feather flock together. So instead of thinking of the owner as somehow being a virtuous person, think about him being a scammer like the steward. So he's like, wow, you've done these things. I can use you. I can make you, get some money off you from your scamming and your dealings and your all these kind of things. So let's do it. Let's have it. So I think that's, for me, what it says is that he thinks about him highly because, again, birds of a feather kind of flock together. But he says the children of this world are more prudent than the dealing in their own generation than are children of light. And there's an interesting comment that was from the William Barclay, who was a professor Presbyterian professor, seminary professor, and he did the commentaries, and he had a commentary on the Gospel of Luke, and he says as follows. He says, if only Christians were as eager and ingenious as in their attempts to attain goodness as those with more worldly concerns in their attempts to attain money, comfort, they would be much better people. If only they would give as much attention to the things which concern their souls as they do to the things that concern their business, they would be much better human beings. And so one of the things that you can think about is, somebody who's maybe, really into weightlifting, they will make all these kind of sacrifices. They will do all these kind of things to get their body in shape. Or, somebody who is into like rock climbing, and they'll make all the effort, to find the right place and to build up their body and to do all these things to be able to accomplish it. There are all these different things. Somebody who wants to make a lot of money is willing to, invest all this time, invest money into learning about how to invest money in these situations. So all these different things, these people have just like the unjust steward. He's willing to, to think about it, to plan about it, and to act upon it. And I think that's one of the things that Jesus is telling the people, is really, that certainly there is money to be had, and money is, kind of a neutral thing. There are jobs that need to happen, and certainly we need that to help to support our families. But also think about, the things that are important to your soul. Are we making the time and effort to do that? Are we making the time to pray each day, to be consistent in prayer? All those kind of things that help us and guide us in our lives. Are we making that time? And so what Jesus does in this gospel is kind of uses this negative example of the unjust steward to bring about the positive example that really, are we making those plans? Are we thinking about those plans? Are we making the plans and executing the plans? So if we want to become closer to Christ, are we thinking about, how can I become closer to Christ? Plan out an attack, that's reasonable, that's not irrational, that's not going to, make us go a little, way too much and then skip a day and then another day and then another day. But again, being consistent in that plan and then following through on that plan. Thanks, God bless.